Imagine it is Friday night. Your direct deposit just hit your account. It's a number that would have made your 22-year-old self pass out from pure excitement. Over $6,000. Clear. Right there on the screen. You look at your banking app. You feel this quick, 2-second rush of adrenaline. And then, almost instantly, your stomach drops. Because before you even put your phone back in your pocket, you know exactly what is about to happen. The massive mortgage payment auto-drafts. The 2 luxury car payments hit. The daycare tuition clears. The credit card bill for all the organic groceries and the streaming services takes its cut. You make $180,000 a year. You are in the top tier of earners in this country, and you are literally lying in bed praying the dog doesn't swallow a sock this weekend because you don't have the cash for an emergency vet bill. You are experiencing the most silent, terrifying epidemic in America right now, and you think it is your fault. What almost nobody realizes is that making 6 figures today does not make you rich. It makes you a prime target. You see, the entire economy is uniquely calibrated to extract every single extra dollar you make, wrapping it in the beautiful, socially acceptable disguise of the American dream. You feel like you were doing something fundamentally wrong, like you missed some secret class in college about how money actually works. On the surface, this makes sense, but in reality, you are playing a rigged game. You are trapped in high-income poverty, but there is a way out. And escaping it? Well, it doesn't look like what they show you on social media. There is no confetti, no notification on your phone that says you are finally wealthy. In fact, if you are actually breaking out of this trap, you go through these subtle, almost invisible psychological shifts. I've identified about 9 distinct changes in how your brain processes reality when you are secretly getting rich. And if you are feeling a weird friction in your life right now, you might already be going through them. It starts when something fundamental shifts in your brain regarding your ego. Let's talk about a guy named David. David is a classic case of the trap. He finally hits that coveted director level at his firm and bumps his salary to 160 grand. What does he do? He immediately ties his ego directly to his new paycheck. He thinks, well, I'm a director now. I manage a team. I can't be seen pulling into the executive parking lot in a 2015 sedan. So he goes to the dealership and signs a lease on a $60,000 luxury SUV. He tells himself he earned it. But here's where it gets interesting. David thinks he just bought a car. What he actually bought was a 7-year sentence of corporate anxiety. Every single time he turns the key in that ignition, he is paying the bank for the privilege of looking successful to people at red lights who do not even care that he exists. He is bleeding cash to maintain a baseline that keeps moving away from him. This is lifestyle creep, and it is a completely normalized disease. When you start escaping the trap, you develop a brutal, absolute immunity to this. You get that raise. You look at the new number on your pay stub, and you feel nothing. You don't browse Zillow. You don't go to the dealership. You decouple your ego from your income, and you just quietly route that extra 20% straight into your brokerage account. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think you are depriving yourself, but you aren't. You are just realizing that true wealth is invisible. And because you stop upgrading your life every time your income goes up, you unlock this incredible, silent superpower. You build a financial buffer. I'm talking $30,000, maybe $40,000 just sitting in cash. And this is the part that should worry you if you are stuck in David's mindset. Because when you have that buffer, you never, ever talk about it. You don't post it online. You could literally sleep in tomorrow, take a month off, and figure it out without missing a single meal. But that's not even the real problem for people like David. The real problem is the sheer exhausting weight of social comparison. When David sees his neighbor putting in a $50,000 custom pool, his ancient brain screams at him that he is losing status. So he leverages himself further just to keep up. When you are quietly getting rich, that wiring in your brain literally short circuits. You experience the complete death of envy. You see a $1,000 a month payment, skyrocketing insurance premiums, and a depreciating asset tying your neighbor to a desk he probably hates. Instead, you realize that most visible wealth is just heavily subsidized debt. What almost nobody realizes is how this complete immunity to the marketing machine warps your relationship with time. When you were living in a constant state of financial triage. But when the trap opens up and you step out, your vision expands massively. You stop chasing quick wins. You stop caring about what the stock market did this afternoon or what some random crypto coin is doing this week. You start thinking in decades. You look at an S&P 500 index fund, not as a gamble, but as a slow, inevitable force of nature. You are perfectly fine putting $500 away today and not touching it for 20 years because you deeply understand the brutal, beautiful math of compound interest. You trade the cheap dopamine hit of the lottery ticket for the absolute, undeniable certainty of the long game. And because you are playing the long game, something else incredibly strange happens to you. Money actually becomes boring. Think about it. When you are broke, or when you are faking being rich, money is the main character of your life. It consumes every waking thought. Every time you go out to dinner, you are doing mental gymnastics to justify the appetizer. But when you are actually building quiet wealth, your finances go on autopilot. Your investments pull automatically on the first of the month. Your bills are on autopay. You might go 3 or 4 months without even logging into your brokerage account. The anxiety that used to hum in the background of your brain, like a refrigerator you couldn't turn off, finally powers down. It leaves this massive open space in your mind, and you find yourself focusing on your health, your family, your actual legacy, because the math is already handling itself in the dark. But here's where it gets really interesting, and it usually confuses the people around you. While you are saving aggressively and ignoring luxury brands, your spending habits change in a very specific, highly strategic way. You stop buying things, and you start buying time. They spend 4 hours on a Saturday driving across town to save $20 on hardware supplies. They glorify the grind, but when you wake up, you realize that your time is the only truly finite asset you will ever possess. So, you gladly pay someone $150 to deep clean your house. Not because you are lazy, but because you know those 3 hours spent wrestling with your kids in the backyard or just resting your exhausted mind are infinitely more valuable. You pay for the direct flight. You buy convenience. You stop glorifying being busy, and you start fiercely protecting the white space on your calendar. You realize that true wealth is waking up on a Tuesday and having total control over what you do until you go to sleep. And to get that level of control, you have to do something that your ego will absolutely hate. You have to take extreme, unapologetic ownership of your situation. When you are stuck in the high-income poverty trap, it is so easy, almost comforting, to play the victim. You blame inflation. You blame the Federal Reserve. You blame the housing market. And look, those things are incredibly frustrating. But complaining about them does not change your balance sheet. I see so many people making 150 grand a year, writing long, angry paragraphs on the internet about why it is impossible to save money right now. But you stop making excuses. If rent is too high, you get a roommate, or you move to a cheaper zip code. If your car payment is draining you, you swallow your pride, sell the car, and buy a beater in cash. You look at your financial reality not as a series of unfair events, but as a puzzle that you are personally, entirely responsible for solving. You stop saying, "I can't afford that," and you start saying, "That is not a priority for my capital right now." That tiny language shift alters your entire psychology. It takes you out of the passenger seat and puts you directly behind the wheel. And this leads to the ultimate, final sign that you have completely escaped the matrix of modern consumerism. You develop this profound, almost desperate desire to be invisible. Think about David in his massive SUV. He is spending thousands of dollars a month specifically so strangers at red lights will look at him and think he has power. He is a hostage to the perception of people he doesn't even know. When you are secretly getting rich, the idea of looking rich becomes completely repulsive to you. You do not want the target on your back. You do not want the expectations. You find immense comfort in looking completely average. You want to walk through your neighborhood wearing a plain, unmarked t-shirt, driving a completely unmemorable car, looking like a totally unremarkable middle-class guy, all while knowing you have a liquid net worth approaching 7 figures. You see, the system relies entirely on your ego. The banks, the dealerships, the luxury brands, they all depend on your deep-seated fear of looking like a failure. They need you to take your highly taxed, hard-earned human capital and immediately convert it into depreciating liabilities just to signal your status to a society that is secretly drowning in debt. They are terrified of the person who makes 150 grand a year, drives a paid-off Toyota, and aggressively hoards capital in silence. Because that person cannot be manipulated. That person cannot be forced to work a job they hate. That person is a glitch in their matrix. And Marcus didn't realize this until it was too late. He hit 55 years old. His energy dropped. The 60-hour work weeks started hurting his joints. But he still had massive car payments and a bloated mortgage. He looked back at the prime decades of his life, and he realized, with absolute horror, that he traded his actual freedom to pay for the appearance of success. The future regret completely devastated him. He realized he was going to have to keep grinding, keep playing office politics, keep swallowing his pride until he was 65, just to maintain a lifestyle that didn't even make him happy anymore. He was rich on paper, but he was entirely broken in reality. If you are recognizing yourself in these shifts, if you are starting to pull back from the ledge of consumerism, I need you to understand something very important. You are going to feel lonely. Your friends are going to think you are weird. Your family might wonder why you aren't enjoying your success the way they think you should. The temptation to break your discipline and rejoin the noisy, flashy parade of the fake rich is going to test you, especially when you have a bad day at work and you just want to buy something to feel better. But you have to hold the line. Because the quiet you are building right now is purchasing the loudest, most absolute freedom you can possibly imagine for your future self. You are trading the illusion of success today for the undeniable, bulletproof reality of power tomorrow. Look at your bank account right now. Look at the auto drafts. Who are you actually working for? Are you buying your freedom, or are you just financing your own exhaustion? The choice is entirely yours. But you cannot delay it forever. What are you going to do when you wake up tomorrow?